Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Auto Afflicted. Today we're finally digging into the W124 coupe, the M103 engine, which I did blow the head gasket on and just been marinating in coolant and chocolate oil for months. So now I'm finally ready to do this. If you're new to the channel and you don't know all about Bruno sa coupe, there's tons of videos on the channel of turbocharging this car. I'll put some links in the description. There's even a video of the day that I blew it up, so you can check that out too. But now we're gonna bring it back to life. We've got the multi-layered steel head gasket from Hedgehog Racing, new turbo. We've got everything for the top end of the engine, really, timing chain, water pump, oil pump chain, tensioners, pulleys, all of these things. But before we can play with any of the really fun stuff, we're going to tear down the engine. So this episode is going to be how to tear down your M103 and rebuild it with the timing chain. But this is part one, so first we're going to just take it all apart. And at the end, we'll get a look at the head and we'll get to see how warped it is or isn't, whether or not we're going to try to, plane it on the floor of the garage, or we're going to take it to a machine shop. The internet's got a lot of crazy different ways you can do this, and maybe I'm not going to need to do any of it. Fingers crossed. But let's get right into it. Right, so there's probably a Mercedes way to go about this, but really we just have a lot of things to take off. The whole turbo and exhaust manifold's got to come off, and then we'll pull the bolts on intake manifold. Obviously all these little things, spark plugs, all these things are coming off, so I'm not really going to bore you with this, and we're just going to run with a time lapse, and we will revisit as there's sort of special things to mention. So enjoy. Right, so exhaust manifold side, not incredibly tricky, just takes a lot of patience. Annoyingly, all the manifold studs, like you can only get a 12 on it, a little bit with an open box end, and you can't really get a ratchet on most of them, so just take some time. Now on to the next fun part, which is going to be the intake side. We're going to attempt to get the intake just loose so that the head can come away this way. Sounds good? You really just have to go to work removing vacuum lines, sensor connectors, and breather hoses, moving a few things around before you can get access to the intake manifold bolts. There are Allen bolts across the top, and then there are 3 underneath, one kind of hiding up front where the coolant gains access to the head. There's one near the back, kind of in the same location, and then there's one in the middle, which is actually a nut, which is part of a stud that comes off the head. Now we'll remove the valve cover fasteners and remove the valve cover. I'm breaking the fasteners loose by hand and then coming back with the tool to speed them off. You don't want to get overzealous with your power tools. Now we've got the valve cover off. Gentle tap with the hammer. You don't need to bend the valve cover. Just tap, tap, tap-a-roo. It comes right off. And now we're going to pull off the front of the engine casing. We're going to get to the timing and all that, which is also going to involve removing the shroud for the radiator, as well as all the serpentine belt and all of that other fun stuff on the front end. It's kind of a recap of everything we've done in here. We just took our time, gentle with the bolts, especially with the we pulled a couple Allen bolts out of the 7th injector here. I guess that's your cold start injector. A couple Allen bolts out of there, which were quite soft, and luckily they came out without stripping. But definitely want to be careful with those, because you go in ham-fisted, you strip some things, and the next thing you know, you got a whole lot more work on your hands. So take it slow, maybe use some penetrating oil. It's good for you. And now we're just gonna dive into this and then we'll come back for the recap of how it all went down. So the shroud and the fan. Don't ask the internet how to take it off because they tell you to make like a band strap scenario on this pulley. But in reality, back down here, you can see this little groove. You can barely see that. If I focus, here we go. Follow my finger. There. There's a groove there. Now there's a hole back here in the pulley, back here. And if you get a 4mm Allen key, it'll go in there and it'll wedge against that little stopper and it'll hold that pulley still. Now if you don't have a 4mm Allen, you just get some old bent needle nose pliers and you pop those right in there at the right angle, wedge it, and then just put your bad attitude on it and that'll come loose. So that's how that's done. Now we can finish taking apart the rest of this and see about getting this head off. Straightforward removal of the rotor for distribution and the upper casing, revealing the cam wheel. You should put your engine into TDC and lock it with cam lock and probably lock with a crank lock as well. I actually do that in the next video, but since we were just tearing it down, we followed the proper procedure for removal of head studs, and with some prying, got the head loosened up and were able to remove it. There it is. You know, one small step, one small step for me, one huge step for Ben's kind. Let's put this on the bench and take a look at what might be wrong with it. Take a look at the gasket too and see all these things. All right, so looking inside, the pistons, cylinder walls, this all looks pretty nice. You can see the gasket. I don't know if this is Elring or stock. I got another Elring I guess I can compare it to. And then that's where it blew right there, clearly. So our multi-layered steel should really do us a big favor. Taking a deeper look here at the intake manifold side. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts on the bottom, and this one in the back was the one that was hiding. Found that. So all that looks good, and kind of excited to go ahead and slap this all back together. But let's take a look at the head. So here, looking at the head on the underside, this is what we care about too. Everything looks pretty normal. Actually, it looks really pretty clean. This is a 200,000 mile engine. I don't know about the head. I don't have the history on it, but probably has seen a gasket in its time. But I don't know much more than that. But it looks pretty good. So putting the machinist grade straight edge on here. Everything's looking really nice and flat. You go at an angle as well. Okay, so checking it this way and this way and these ways. Everything was looking super good. So we're happy about that. We're gonna bolt it back up. So there we go, friends. Came apart pretty easy, looked pretty clean inside. So I even eyeballed the head to see if I was gonna need to plane it down, send it to the machine shop. It looked pretty good to me. I put a little bit of straight edge on it, and I couldn't really see any air. I'm gonna call it good enough. I mean, the engine, the lower block is looking good, the head's looking good. I've got a 3mm gasket and head studs. So I think it's gonna press together nice. If I have to, I could take it apart, but I don't really think that my karma is gonna do me that way. So that's the plan. So friends, thanks for joining us on part 1. You may have noticed my assistant Wayne was popping in here and there. A tip for all you guys and gals out there, find someone who's early retired, free labor for life, and if they have tools, all the more better. So that's what Wayne was doing. You're gonna see a lot more of him, I can guarantee that. We do have to take all the timing chain, oil pump, water pump, pulleys off, all that's gotta go back together, and the engine's gotta go back together. So I'm guessing this is gonna be 3 parts, but they're gonna be well worth it. There's gonna be some gems in there. So friends, you know how it goes. You know, keep your car insured, use your signals when you're driving. Don't flash your lights at cars with no lights on because they could be gang members and they'll get you. So be safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.